What's up, everybody? This is Eric, and I am going to talk a bit about. Sorry, just making sure this works. It does. Phenom resources today. I'm just going to walk through their press release that we just saw come out this morning. Stock is flat, 41 and a half cents Canadian, up 1% to 32 cents in the US. This is an important update. There's a few little subtle nuggets in here that I just wanted to make a couple of inferences to and comments on to premium and elite members primarily. Although if you are a YouTube subscriber, you will also get the benefit of this going public soon. So what do we have here? We have some commentary that came out after the hole number 15 that has been drilled. One of the things that I have promised to Phenom Resources Corporation, Dave Matheson, who is leading the Nevada charge for gold discovery, and Paul Cowley, who is leading the company. These guys are bettable on. And Paul's a very trustworthy, talented geologist and corporate operator. I trust him implicitly. I know he will do the right things and is somebody that I'm just not afraid of doing anything sketchy at all. One bit. And then you've got Dave Matheson, who my contention, guys, on this deal, okay, I own about 4.8% of the outstanding shares and warrants on this myself. That's a lot of money for me. It's a seven-figure investment in one stock, and one penny stock. And I would call it a penny stock, but it's not going to be a penny stock for forever, and maybe not for long, for a number of different reasons. But the bottom line is, even if it goes above $1, it's not something that's going to be looked at as a blue chip. I'm taking a big bet here. This is for like decades of my foundation being funded. If this thing hits the way that I think that it will and that it can. But Dave is a huge reason why I've gone so deep into this deal. You have to realize that, there are people like Dave Matheson who are now in their 70s. Dave's in his 70s. Thankfully, he's healthy. I think he's really last time I spoke with him, he's having a blast drilling. That's what he loves to do. And I gave these guys a promise that as long as they had viable targets and continue to move these projects forward, looking for big gold elephant discoveries in Nevada, new discoveries in Nevada, they will never run out of money. They will be able to continue to drill. And since I got back involved and started to buy up shares in June of 2020, it was really after the crack in March of 2020 that I started to look at vanadium and where it was after this bear market. That was a very long bear market, and a lot of work that went silently moving forward from Paul Cowley when vanadium was not in favor any longer. It was in favor in 2018 when we had seen from our group, we had done an initial financing at 14 cents Canadian with a 24 cent or 23 cent warrant. I forget which one it was. Good for a few years. And we essentially saw that stock go to $2 two different times. It first happened within 7 months. I believe it was June of 2018. And then again in September, it had pulled all the way back down closer to $1 and then went again into the Chinese more stringent regulations and rules that they had implemented around steel and vanadium that was impacting the market, and saw vanadium shoot from single digits in earlier 2017 to over $30 a pound. And it was brief, and it was very bubbly and hype and topish and kind of mania sort of an environment. But that was based on an option to buy the Carlin vanadium asset, okay, 43101 stage, and that's it. they've moved this thing past the PEA stage, now are re-drilling a bunch of different holes that are going to prove this thing up to be probably 50% minimum, 50% bigger than we thought. Just with a lot of the holes that they're going to talk about that in this news release that I'll walk through, which is important. But if we went to $2 in a vanadium bull market with a 43101 project that we now own outright, there was just about $1 million payment that went through last month to buy this thing fully. There's a 2% NSR on it, but it's 100% owned by Phenom Resources, and they've spent over $15 million moving this thing through the PEA stage. There's a lot of potential catalysts for this deal. I think that the value in terms of the vanadium asset alone, over the course of the next couple of years is going to show that this thing will go back to at least $2 based on just the vanadium. Now, what happens with a big gold discovery? And, this is where this is all leading from a vision standpoint, I believe, is that we're going to end up spinning this out into two different companies. The vanadium will likely get spun out as its own entity, or the gold company will get spun out as its own entity once we've got a greater grasp on what is being discovered right now at Smoke and Deep at Carlin. But Dave Matheson is one of these individuals who I haven't, I'm not a historian in the sense of really doing the type of research that I need to do to make some of these statements like as fact. But this is the sense I get, and I've done a lot of talking to people that are involved in and have been Nevada historians with regard to gold exploration and discovery and mining. And you're just not going to find very many geologists that are still active and around, like Dave, who has probably found or been involved. He found himself or has been involved actively in a group that has found more gold, new gold discoveries in Nevada than anybody else that is still alive, kicking, or that I can find, and I mean, 70 something is not that old, but you can't continue to, it's pretty hard work. So it doesn't go on forever. And I think there's a window here for sure where, Dave is going to get his legacy building, couple of next big discoveries, and it's going to happen to the benefit of Phenom Resources. And nobody knows the Carlin trend better. I mean, there's just nobody out there that you're going to find that's going to be like greatly superior to Dave Matheson's pedigree in terms of what they've accomplished and what they're still doing. So I'm just really excited about the fact that I just know that, somebody like this, it's like giving Michael Jordan money to go play basketball. He's going to score points, period. And it's going to be a pretty good return on those points. And that's the same thing we're going to see here, in my opinion. And we're already onto it. Let's get into this news release, which basically talks about the fact that the RC 2215, which is the 15th hole that is now 2022, is about 5 kilometers in strike length, and only 600 meters of the strike length has been tested to date. Now, for those of you that are very technical, you're going to even understand this a bit better than me, even though I have been learning more and more about the geology and the settings in which you can have the makings of what will be leading you and vectoring you into a major gold discovery. And in fact, this is just as important as then hitting, because you're going to get a preliminary look and indication that you are onto something. And when you're in the Carlin trend and you're around, deposits like Gold Quarry, which is like 50 million ounces of gold, if I'm not mistaken, a Gold Strike, over 20 million ounces of gold. I mean, these are monsters. And that is what we are going for at Phenom Resources. According to Mr. Matheson, hole 15 is our best looking hole drilled to date in many respects. The alteration, brecciation, silification, and sulfides are notably strongest yet. The pathfinder elements typically associated with gold are the highest we have encountered and comparable to those in proximity to gold deposits elsewhere on the Carlin trend. This is a very important guide in our efforts. Virtually the entire hole is mineralized with low gold. This indicates a stronger part of the hydrothermal system with gold infiltration into the entire stratigraphy, and in particular into the favorable Popovich stratigraphy. And the Popovich stratigraphy was also found 150 meters shallower than in RC 2001, RC 2113. They're saying that the accumulated drill data from these holes, they've provided valuable information to define and now zero in on better gold zones within the large gold system. I mean, they're calling it a large gold system. There is no doubt from what I talked with last with Paul Cowley that they've got a large gold system that exists here underneath the vanadium deposit. Mr. Matheson has determined that the stronger part of the system is within a corridor approximately 150 meters wide on the west flank of the north-south orientated Graben Fault. The company now have 3 holes that are aligned within this corridor, providing further vectoring enhancement. They go on to list those holes. He further stated, we're pleased with our thoughtful, progressive approach. Holes RC 2001 and hole 13 were the best holes we had, with RC 2001, the first hole, the better of the two. Hole 15 is significantly better still. This information provides a southern direction of system strengthening within the corridor we are now focused on, where subsequent drilling will proceed. Hole 15 encountered pathfinder metals, arsenic, mercury, and thallium within the Popovich section from, looks at like a length of 214 meters, not shabby. Notably stronger than in hole 1, more than double the arsenic values, 738 ppm, and 30 times higher in mercury, 227 ppm Hg. Gold was also more evenly distributed in this Popovich section, averaging 57 ppb AU with a high of 445 ppb. Now, and the hole 15 was virtually mineralized with gold the entire hole length, which was from 3 meters down to 748 meters. That is a deep hole, and that's a lot of gold mineralization, even though we did not see them hit into a feeder zone or right into or next to a feeder zone. It's going to give us more of the eye-popping or holy shit type of a reaction in the press release with the assays that will make this stock explode, which I believe is just a matter of time. In further news, the company is expecting assays from the Smoke. This is important. Smoke Gold project next week, and will report findings upon receipt. Based on visuals from the recent 5-hole 2,700 meter RC drill program, the company has expanded the property position by staking an additional 43 claims and is planning a prompt minimum 7-hole follow-up program. So what is this here at Smoke? I've always said I love the name of this project and I would buy it just for the name. Somebody somewhere realized back in the day that where there's smoke, there's fire. This deal was so smoky. It was so likely that there was an indication that there was going to be gold there someday found by explorers like Phenom Resources, Paul Cowley, and Dave Matheson, that they called it Smoke. Look, they did 5 holes from what I understand. One in particular, all I can do is say this. I've learned not to trust visuals. You have to get assays back from the lab. They can be deceiving, but it is also very nice to hear when you have a geologist that is falling over themselves with excitement about what they've seen come up from the earth. That's what we have with one of those 5 holes in particular, that the company is really looking forward to getting a rushed assay back on. And it was the reason why they ran, not walked. I mean, they were clamoring to go and lock up additional land and are excited to get back out there. We could see, we'll see what happens on these assays. All I know is it looked very good, and Dave and Paul are very bullish about Smoke. And lastly, here, the company's completed a total of 36 shallow holes, averaging 250 meters deep, um, aimed at expanding the vanadium resource. Samples from hole 70 through 105 are in the lab for analysis. The company is planning an additional 32 shallow holes for this resource expansion purpose. 2 to 4 shallow holes are completed each day. Following this campaign, the company plans the next deep gold testing hole. So you've got, in this deal where there's so many companies that are dormant, we're looking at a discovery, trying to find the next large new gold discovery in the Carlin Trend, on the Carlin Trend, deep underneath what is already a substantial, the highest grade and largest vanadium, primary vanadium resource in North America, which is being expanded tremendously right now with very cheap, repetitive holes. That was a calculated decision going into what will be a very, very interesting decision by the Department of Energy going into the early fall about who's going to get some of these $100 million grants. If you want to talk about a catalyst, I mean, that's going to blow this thing wide open. But look, that is our backstop. That's why I'm also comfortable being so heavy in this particular company's stock, because we have a very, very valuable asset already in the vanadium asset, and we can afford to take some big swings and miss. Which, there's been 15 holes that have been drilled in Carlin Deep. I was not expecting some blockbuster hole to come out right away. I mean, these are massive properties, and when you're going so deep, I mean, these holes take 2 weeks to drill one hole. This is not a small undertaking by any means, and it is being looked at as, if we hit here in this Carlin Deep, South Carlin Deep, it's not going to be a small system, okay? It's going to be a big system. And it even looks like the smoke situation, even though that is much cheaper to drill, much more shallow, could also be a big one. So let's see what happens there. And then, lastly, what was I going to mention? I was just going to mention that what I foresee happening down the line, probably not, the world's not ready for it just yet, but down the line is that vanadium, what is going to disrupt the lithium ion battery marketplace? Vanadium batteries, V2O5, and not the redox flow, which are very large industrial type backups for power. Those are amazing in terms of what they can do, but that's a very limited marketplace in terms of growth, even though it will drive vanadium demand. Most of it is still going into steel, into stainless steel, because I believe it's 2%, an addition of 2% V2O5 to iron ore and making stainless steel strengthens that stainless steel by 100%. That's what vanadium does. It is a very interesting metal. And in addition to that, we've seen some very cutting edge companies, one of which is out of Japan, that has developed a car battery that they're saying, and again, this is early days, but it's coming. I'm sure of it. You're going to start seeing a lot more chatter about how a vanadium battery, electric vehicle battery, they say in their early testings can go 100 times further on a single charge. That is very big disruption. That's what you want to and need to see for a disruption of an entire sector. So there's a lot of good stuff going on with this company, and accumulating in a bear market is not a bad idea. I continue to nibble away anytime we're down here in the 40-cent area Canadian. It's just too cheap. And, I shouldn't say this, but I just feel like $2 to $5 is a very good, very, very reasonable and doable target in 2023 for this stock. That's a big, big, big win.